Welcome, everyone. My name is Payal Tandon. I am one of the co founders and CEO of e-GMAT. First of all, let me commend you all for dedicating 2 hours of your precious time on your Sunday morning or evening or afternoon to your GMAT preparation. And thank you so much for allocating your precious time with me this weekend. I take that very seriously, and I will make sure that you will make the most out of these 2 hours because that's what we do at e-GMAT. We look for efficient ways to get you to your target GMAT score. So I'm going to change the screen here, and we are going to see the presentation right in front of you shortly in another couple of seconds. All right. So tell me if you can see the screen on your, so if you can see Arithmetic in GFE on your Adobe Connect platform here. Press yes, you can see. That way I know that the screen has stabilized at your end. And say hello. Tell me which part of the world you are joining us from. And say hello to the two fellow participants here. All right. All right, we have Kenya, United States, India, Germany. Okay, so a good mix here. Pakistan, Kenya again. Okay, good, very nice. So we have good representation. Okay, Nigeria. Okay, good. That's the first time that I've seen three people from Kenya. That is nice. Welcome. Okay. Nepal, welcome. All right, I am joining here from India, Bangalore, India, to be specific. Somebody requested me to put up the previous screen to various links. I will definitely share those with you shortly. Don't worry. So as you're solving questions, I'm going to put up those questions, those links here. All right, so what are we going to do in this session? First of all, what is your expectation from this session? What do you have in mind as to, okay, I'm dedicating these 2.5 hours. This is what I'm going to get from this session. So tell me that. And I'm doing a bit of a risky thing because I'm getting your expectations and then I'm going to tell you what your expectations should be. But why not? Let's just try it out. So you're here to learn some concepts, you're here to learn some application, you are scared of quant, or you are really very confident in quant. So what is it that you are here for? And where are you at in terms of your preparation? And while you're answering these questions, I will also I would also ask how many of you are e-GMAT students? That way I know how many are students and how many are not e-GMAT students. All right, I'm going to put this poll here. Not e-GMAT student or e-GMAT student, cementing number properties concepts, bad at algebra, hoping to learn. Well, this is an arithmetic session. So we won't be talking about algebra per se, but whatever you would learn over here, you would get to apply that on algebra as well. Review common approaches to problem solving, also a bit scared of quant. Okay, good. That is interesting to know. And we will definitely take care of that. There's somebody here teaching SAT. That's interesting. So if you could tell me more about yourself in the Q&A pod, would appreciate that. Starting along after a long time, so to get a recap and overview, absolutely, that is something which I can definitely accomplish. Cementing number properties concepts. Okay, Nelson, we will talk about that. What this session will definitely help you with cementing, definitely. To learn some shortcuts, smarter ways to solve questions quicker. Okay, we will definitely get to that as well. Okay, good. So, um, I do have a good sense of why you are here. So, let's talk about what we are going to do in this session. So, three parts to this webinar. The first one is your GMAT plan. And I know we are not talking, this is not a strategy session, this is a quant oriented session, but what is the end goal here? All of you are here in order to ace GMAT, right? So, whenever I talk to my students about GMAT prep, I always tell them consider GMAT as a project. and to execute any project to success, you need to have a very solid plan. So I do want to spend a couple of minutes just telling you what your plan should entail, so that when you go back to your drawing board, to your preparation, you can ask yourself, do I have a plan that gives me this and this? So I will spend a couple of minutes on that. Then second part of the session, which is primarily going to be question driven, we are going to be solving lots and lots of questions, and I will tell you about that in detail. And then towards the end, I'll take any questions that you may have that we may not have covered in the session. Okay, so the plan solid. Everyone understands what we're going to do. Now let's talk about your personalized study plan. And for that, I want you to visualize your GMAT journey. And as I'm walking you through the slide, I want you to tell me, do you picture your GMAT journey in this manner? Okay. By the way, let me just broadcast the results here. So majority of the participants here are not e-GMAT students. So I will be sure to structure the session so that I'm not using a whole lot of e-GMAT terminology, so that everyone can understand this part. Okay, thank you for participating here. Okay, so the very first step in any whenever you're starting your GMAT prep, you have to absolutely create your personalized study plan. That is the first and the foremost step. Okay, and we will talk about that in detail. Okay, then the next step, which takes the maximum amount of time of your study prep, is learning concepts and application. And see, there are two things: you learn concepts and you learn application. Those are two different things, and we'll talk about that as well. Then the third step here is that you master application. Learning application and mastering application need to be two different things. That's why you have two different steps over here, and you need different tools in order to learn application and in order to master application. There are two different tools that you need, and we'll talk about that as well. And beyond that, you also have to do test readiness. Without test readiness, if you go and take your mock or take the test, you are setting yourself up for failure. So each one of these steps, each one of these four steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, are very, very critical. Okay, so now, steps number 2 and 3 are done on a section level. And I'll talk about that. What do I mean by that? Step number 1 is obviously done at the GMAT level, because you want to plan your entire GMAT journey. Step number 4, which is your test readiness, that is done again, that's done at the GMAT level, because now here you're taking your mixed quizzes and so on and so forth. Okay, so everybody clear with this visualization? Before I go further into how do you create your personalized study plan, and let me also get a poll here so that we can get a quick yes or no here. All right. So everyone clear with this journey? Yes? Good. Okay. Yash, that's a specific question. Please put that in the Q&A pod. And one thing which I didn't tell you guys is, so chat or any of the polls that I put in, those are meant to interact with me on the questions that I ask of you. But any question that you have from me, put those in the Q&A pod so that I can either respond to those while you are attempting questions when I'm sitting idle here, or I can take those questions and then send you an email after the session. So Yash, please put that very specific question in the Q&A pod, because there is a specific answer to that. We have an email which we're going to send you in a couple of hours with all the details. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. And I can see your question here. Okay, so now let's talk about your personalized study plan. What you see here on the screen is verbal, quant, data insights. And what you see here is your starting scores. What are your starting scores in these? And these scores are out of 90. And you see the percentiles here as well, right? And you see what your target scores are. So whenever you're starting off your prep, e-GMAT students will be creating their personalized study plan as the first and the foremost step, because this is the tool that they have once they have the subscription of the course. Okay, so very, very important. And this also gives you, okay, this is your starting score, this is your target score, and how many months it's going to take you to prepare in order to get to your target score. Now, here is the process that we follow in order to create this personalized study plan, and this is done within minutes. after you have taken a mock. After you've taken a GFE, GMAT Focus Edition mock, either on our platform or on the official platform, either of those two would work. Nothing else is going to work, either our mock or the official mock. Then you bring in that data, you put in your starting abilities, you put in what your target score is, and then the system brings up all of this stuff, does all of this, and presents to you, okay, this is what my study plan should look like. We look at where is what sections require main focus. By main focus, we mean these are your weak areas wherein you will spend lion's share of your study time. So for example, CR and RC are the main focus areas of this particular student. Now, GI and TA in DI, this is a section that requires perfection, right? The student has the basic concepts and the application all set over here, but the student needs to practice a little bit more to get to perfection. Whereas arithmetic and MSR require mastering of methods. Again, each of these three, the red, the yellow, and the green, would require different tools, which is what we provide to our students on our platform. Okay, and this is something on day zero. Once the student enrolls and once the student takes the GFE mock, on day zero, this is the map that we ask our students to basically take a printout of, put it on their study table so that they have this roadmap absolutely crystal clear in their head. So here, what do you see? And this is a pretty loaded chart. Actually, we can create a very nice graphic interpretation question in the DI section out of this. So here you see current score going to the target score, 62 percentile going to 99th percentile. You see the three sections here: verbal, quant, data insights. You see their current scores and the percentiles as well, because another thing is, with the GFE changing to 60 to the scale, to the scoring of 60 to 90, it's difficult to wrap our heads around these new numbers, right? So verbal, so we need to be able to map that 79 to 51 percentile, that 84 to 85 percentile in quant, and so on, right? And then what you see over here is stage one. If you see verbal, this student is going to spend a lot of time on stage one in verbal, quite a bit of time on stage one in data insights as well. And what you see is how much time will be spent in stage two, which is mastering application, and how much time will be spent on test readiness, which is again the third step, right? Right, so all of this map is there with an e-GMAT student, right before, even before they start their preparation. This is the plan that you deserve to have. Now, how many of you today have this kind of plan, or even thought of creating a plan that looks like this? Because this is the plan that basically keeps you true to your preparation. Once you know that, okay, this is what you have to do, you will make sure that, are you going, let's say, 2 weeks down the road, are you sticking to your plan? Have you deviated from your plan? Or do you need to make some changes to the plan? And this really removes a lot of anxiety as you are in the execution mode, because believe me, executing preparation for GMAT, handling a full time job, having family commitments is not an easy thing. So that is what we do over here. We create these tools so that preparation becomes easy for you. You spend the time where you need to spend the time, because we can't learn the concepts for you. We can't learn the application for you. But what we can do is we can make those steps easy for you so that you spend the time where it matters the most. Okay. So beyond this as well, now this is at the section level, verbal, quant, data insights. Beyond this, what you see is in verbal, in CR and RC, in the first 2 weeks of November, this student is going to be preparing for CR, right? In the last week of November and going into the mid of December, the student is going to be doing RC. Now, having this clarity and having that surety that, yes, after I've spent these 2.7 weeks in CR, I will be at this level, I will be at this 90th percentile level, that gives you that kind of confidence. And having those set metrics really help you stay true to your plan and basically invest the time where it matters the most. Okay. Now, this is the reason, these tools, this kind of clarity is the reason why e-GMAT has accounted for 3 out of 5 successes posted on GMAT Club since the last several years. And what does that 3 out of 5 look like? We account for 60% of all 700 plus scores that are reported on GMAT Club, whereas remaining test prep companies, everybody else accounts for the remaining 40%. So, and it's not a it's a no-brainer, because we have tools like these, like the PSP, which creates your personalized study plans within a jiffy once you have the right kind of data. With, by the way, we provide you mocks to get those, to get the right kind of data, all of this. And you'll see as we go through the session why, why this 3 out of 5 is not a surprise at all. Now, that was with regards to your study plan. Now let's talk about the arithmetic session. What are we going to do in this session for the next couple of hours? We are going to be focusing on application. If you remember, we have concepts and we have application, right? Now, concepts are something which everybody knows we have to learn, right? Nobody says, oh, I didn't know I had to learn this concept, right? It's the application which people know that they have to learn the application, but they are not very clear as to what does it mean to learn the application. To what degree should I learn the application? How would I know whether I have mastered the application or not, right? So in this session, my goal is to give you this language. What does it mean to learn application? So that you, when you go off preparing on your own, you have this, you leave this session with this language that you can utilize in order to learn the application. Okay. Now, because we have a varied set of people here, some people are in cementing stage, some people are just starting off. So I know of this characteristic of the group of people who attend this session. That's the reason why we have selected questions which test easy concepts such as, you multiply two negative numbers and the product is positive. Concepts such as 2 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number. So nothing beyond that. Okay, very, very simple concepts. But all the questions that we will talk about in this session are hard questions. By hard questions, I mean 700 plus difficulty level question. Okay, and all of these questions are official questions, but I have not included any question that would be tested in the mock because I don't want this practice to have any negative impact on your mocks. Okay, so I don't want you to be familiar with the mock questions. And a lot of students come back and tell us that, okay, because I scored really well on the mock, but I couldn't really translate that. The reason for that is that you score well in the mock because you practice on these free websites, and those websites contain mock questions. That's why those questions are familiar. So we are very, very particular about that in e-GMAT, that no, you should not be, we shouldn't give you any question which is a mock question. So all right, so hard questions, easy concepts, so that we level the playing field here. Okay, now the flow of the session will be somewhat like this. They're going to be 2 sprints. In the first sprint, we're going to discuss 3 number properties questions. Okay, you're going to be answering these 3 number properties questions one after another. Then we're going to discuss each question one by one. Sprint number 2, we're going to be discussing, you're going to be solving 3 word problems questions together. Then we'll be discussing each one by one. Now, between these 2 sprints, we will also do a demo of our PACE architecture. Again, you will understand why I have included that demo there. So again, that's going to happen between these 2. All right, so everyone, all primed to get started with solving these questions? Yes? Okay, all right. So I'm going to take away the chat pod for a while. And let me introduce you to what the poll looks like so that we are all prepped for that, because I'm going to be asking you questions one after another, right? So you see this still solving here. So I want all of you to click on still solving. That tells me how many people are actively engaged in the session, in answering the question. Okay. Okay. So I have about 65 people in the session. So let's get this number to at least 35. I know others would also be answering the questions, but actively at least 35 people should be here clicking the answer. Now, even though, so I won't time you, but Because we're in the session, we can't give infinite amount of time to everybody. So what we'll do is, as soon as about 50% of the class has put in the responses, I'm going to give you a 10-second warning so that remaining people can also put in their responses. That's the reason why I ask you to click on the still solving. So whenever I give you a new question pod, click on still solving right away. Okay. All right. So let's get going here. And I'm going to unbroadcast the results. And here's your first question. All right, last 15 seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. All right. Okay, question number 2 coming up. And please click on still solving, and then I'm going to show you the question 2 screen. All right, I'm going to show question number 2 now. Here it is. All right, last 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. So let's get last question in this sprint, question number 3. Click on still solving, please. Okay, I'm going to show you question number 3 now. Last 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and we will discuss the answers, each question one by one. But before that, let me just ask this question to figure out what your current prep level is. So tell me when we are talking specifically about number properties, so even odd, primes, LCM, GCD, divisibility, statistics. So tell me where you are at. Have you not prepared at all, just started, or you're done learning and now you're in practice mode? So, okay. All right. This is good. And again, the reason why I asked this question was because of the performance on these questions. Now, I want you all to be very, very. Actually, let me just ask you. So, uh, two-thirds of the class has not really prepared for number properties as yet. Remaining one-third have done preparation and they are in the practice mode. So, how was this experience of solving these three questions? And then I'll tell you my take on on the attempts. And then people who have just started fresh, which is again two-thirds of the class. So stick with me. I will tell you why you should attend this session and what this session is going to do for you. Okay. And there's a reason why I asked these three questions up front, because it kind of sets the tone for what is it that we are going to accomplish in this. Okay. So just started this week. Like experience was like like a real test. So find it difficult as I've just started the preparation. Okay. Now, as I said, these are difficult questions, and the purpose, but the concepts as such, which are tested on in these questions, are relatively easy. There's nothing that, as we talk about the solutions of these questions, you will realize that there is nothing in these questions that you didn't know. Oh my goodness, I didn't know this concept. You're not going to be saying that. But what you will end up saying is, oh my goodness, I didn't know I had to approach it in this manner. Okay. So, exactly what Jack is saying, didn't feel like I had a proper method while solving. Some of them definitely guess and check with some approximation. So, I want you, the goal, and remember what I said. Step number two, which is once you've created the plan, you need to learn the concepts and learn the application. Concepts you will learn. Okay. Application is where I want to give you guidance as to how you should be applying those concepts. Okay. So, let's get started with this. If you're making, these are difficult questions, so they are designed for you to get them wrong. Okay, why? Because you're just starting preparing, right? So if you have gotten them wrong, absolutely fine, that is by design. But What I want you to learn is how should you have solved the question. And with that knowledge, I want you to progressively improve as you go in this session. Okay, does that make sense? Yes? No? Positive attitude. We are here to learn, and this is an absolutely low risk environment, right? So we are all here to learn together. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this question: least possible product. Okay. From the consecutive integers, -10 to 10 inclusive. Okay. 20 integers are randomly chosen. So whenever I read any quant sentence or any piece of text for that matter, I always break down the entire chunk into smaller parts, and I always convert each part into my own notes so that I start to own that question, so that by the time I'm done reading the question, that question becomes mine. Okay, owning the question, that's something which I want you all to make a note of. Own the question. Okay, right now in this form, the question is not yours, the question is the test makers. Okay, but by the time you are done reading the question, you will have owned the question. Okay, that's the level of understanding that I want you all to have. Okay, and how do you own the question? By making notes. Okay, very, very important, especially when you're starting off. Taking notes is very important. Okay, eventually you will get at that point. When you get to that master application stage, you will get to the point wherein you read the question and you solve it all in your head, but that will take practice. But that is the goal. You will get there. Okay, even if you don't get there till date, I always write down stuff. Okay, because that's what I feel most comfortable with. Okay, all right. So there are these consecutive integers from -10 to 10. So I always write that down. -10. Again, I'm not writing all 21 integers, but I'm writing them so that I know what is the data set that I'm talking about. Okay. So there are 21 integers here. 20 integers are randomly chosen with repetitions allowed. So from here, we select 20 randomly. So there's no pattern to it, with repetitions allowed, which means that I can actually pick the same integer twice or thrice or three times, or maybe all 20 times for that matter, right? That's what this means. So look what I'm doing. Repetitions allowed, I am contextualizing that in my own words so that with the intention of owning this particular question. Okay. Make sense? Yes, no? Again, a lot of this is going to be how do you read it, right? So I want you to be completely engaged with me here. Okay, good. With repetitions allowed, again, I have paraphrased that okay, I can pick -1 3 times, I can pick -1 20 times, I can pick -10 20 times, I can pick 0 20 times, right? So that is how I am contextualizing it. Okay, now what's the next question? What is the least possible value of the product of 20 integers? So now remember, I selected these 20 integers. Now I have to product them. I have to multiply all these 20 integers, and the question is asking me to find out the least or the smallest product. Okay, now if I have these 20 integers, by the way, these 20 integers can have negative integers as well in them, right? And I need the smallest product. What can I infer from that? First and foremost, I need to have a negative sign of that product. That's number one. Okay. Secondly, because I need the smallest possible product, and because I have this negative sign here, which means I need to maximize the magnitude of that product. Everyone got this? Yes, no? Okay. Okay. So we need the smallest product, right? When is a product smallest? You can let's say if you're talking about positive products only, right? In that case, the smaller the number, the smaller the product, right? Agreed, Harsha and Venkat? But right now we are talking about, you have these negative numbers here, right? Now if you're talking about smallest product, this means that the sign of that product needs to be negative, right? Now, with negative numbers, the larger the magnitude of the number, you know that -20 is smaller than -2, right? And 20 is a larger number. 20 as magnitude is larger than 2, right? So that's the fundamental principle that we are applying over here. Okay, got it? So the two things that are important here are sign needs to be negative. That's the inference that we have drawn, and magnitude has to be maximized. Okay. Now, in what scenario can that be done? For magnitude to be maximum, and you're taking product, right? So for magnitude to be maximum, you select as many tens as possible, right? Because 10 is the maximum value over here. Again, just the magnitude. Agreed? Yes, no? Again, all of these are inferences that we are drawing. So I want to make sure that you all are with me over here. Okay. Next, for sign to be negative, what is it that we know? You need to have odd number of negative numbers in your product, and even, and again, which means that you'll have even number of positive numbers. Okay. That's something which we are saying you need to have. Basically, the main thing over here is you need to have odd number of negative numbers. Got it? So that is the condition. Now, what does that mean? That means that we basically have, for example, again, I'm just giving an example. We select 19 tens, okay, and we select 19 tens. Sorry, I'm trying to get my pen. And we select one negative 10. And that's going to give us negative 10 times 10 to the power 19. And that's going to give us negative 10 to the power negative 10 to the power 20. So you have your negative sign here. I'm going to change the color here. You have your negative sign here, and you have maximum possible magnitude. Both of those conditions are satisfied. So the correct answer here is choice E, which again, not many people selected. In fact, choice C was the least selected choice. Well, not the least selected choice. Let me just show you the data here. So I'm going to broadcast the results here. Let me just rearrange some polls here. Yeah. So that's the data here. Didn't get the last part. I thought it would be negative 10 to the power 19. Ishita, remember, how many numbers do we need to select? I think you should be able to answer that question on your 20. Now, negative 10 to the power 19, how many numbers is that? So where's the 20th number? No, so no, the missing number is not 1. Remember, you have two things to do. You have to maximize the magnitude. If the missing number is 1, then your product is not going to be the magnitude is not going to be maximized, right? Then you don't have the smallest product possible. Okay, how many of you got it? Okay, what is the doubt that got it now? Good. I assume negative 10 to the power 20 meant 20 tens, and which would be 21 things. Okay, good, Jack. Good. I did not understand why you negated 10 to the power 20. Carol, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What you're doing is this is an example that I have taken. Okay. I've taken an example of picking 19 tens and one negative 10. Right. Now, when you have 19 tens and when you multiply that, you're going to get 10 to the power 19. But then now you have this additional negative 10 that you have to multiply, right? So that is going to give you negative as the product, right? And then 10 to the power 20. Hendra, absolutely, we can choose negative 10 to the power 19 because 19 is odd. The only condition that is there is that we need to have odd number of negative numbers. That's the only condition, okay? Right? So you can absolutely choose 19 negative tens, or you can choose 9 negative tens and 11 tens. Absolutely. Okay? The constraints are you need to select 20 numbers. The product of the magnitude of those numbers need to be as high as possible, and you need to have odd number of negative numbers. What does even number of positive means? Actually, ignore that. That's not correct. It should not be there. The only condition, because any number of even numbers you choose, any number of positive numbers you choose, the product will always be positive. So Tommy, yeah, so Tony, that's not important, so you can strike that out. Srinivas, we cannot choose one because the magnitude has to be maximized. So if you choose one, then your product is not maximum, right? 10 to the power 19 times 1 is less than 10 to the power 20, right? And the question was asking you for maximum product. Srinivas, again, negative 10 to the power 19 and product of 1, again, that is negative 10 to the power, that is 10 to the power, negative 10 to the power 19 is going to be bigger than is going to be bigger than 10 to the power than minus 10 to the power 20, right? Got it. Good, good. So let's talk about, let me get rid of all the annotations here. Okay. So this is the solution. Okay. Would you agree that, so what do you think of this solution? Is there any complicated concept here? Any complex concept that you don't know of? Because if there is, I want you to make a note of that, because that's something which you will need to learn. Okay. It's simpler than I thought. Absolutely, Andre. Yeah. In the end, it was quite easy. Absolutely, Alicia. How was it that easy? Tell me. It's not complicated. We just need to apply logic. Absolutely, Hendra. Think of this. Now I'm going to give you that terminology. Okay. Why is it that this was easy? Why is it that it was logical? Because you have the we what we did was we followed a structured process. You see here, when we wrote down these numbers over here, this is what we call as visualized. We visualize the numbers, right, in order to own this question. When we did this, that sign has to be negative, magnitude has to be maximized, we inferred. Okay, that's the inference process skill. When we did this part over here, that okay, what does this mean in terms of our question? Okay, we select odd negative numbers, we select as many tens as possible. That is again inferring in the context of this question. Okay, and then we basically simply applied that. Okay, so these are the process skills that give you the structured approach that take you from your conceptual understanding to applying that concepts on difficult question. Again, I want to remind you all again and again, this is a difficult question. This is not an easy question. And what does a difficult question mean? By a question is difficult when less than 50% of the folks who attempt the question can answer that question correctly. Okay, that's the definition of a difficult question. Okay, now all so again, this is it, right? Simple. All of you agree with that. Now, Satyam, you brought up this good point. When you see things such as randomly chosen, repetitions allowed, we automatically link that terminology to a PNC, permutation and combination, or a probability question. Is that right? And what does that automatic linkage do? It scares us because these are advanced topics. These topics by themselves come with that, that connotation that these are difficult topics, and we get scared. And that is not a good mindset to have when you are in the test environment. Okay, so do not assume. Take everything with that confidence that yes, I can solve it. Okay, trust your process. Very, very important. Okay, now somebody said that they're not sure whether they'll be able to apply this on another question. Now for that purpose, I have another variation of this question. Okay, so but the learning that I want all of you to have from this is that you need to utilize these process skills to power your logical thought process. Okay, because ultimately what's needed to solve these questions is a logical thought process, right? So read question bit by bit. Okay, take notes. Very, very important. Okay, draw inferences. As you are taking notes, you continue to draw inferences. Okay, retrieve appropriate concepts, right, at the right time, and continue processing till you find the answer. So do this in a very structured manner using the process skills. That is the key to acing quant. Okay. Now, as I said, I have another version of this question. You know how to approach this. Now I want you to think about how will you solve this question. And yeah, so go ahead. I'm going to get you the poll so that you can put in your answers. Click on still solving, please. All right, I'm going to end the poll now because there are some people who have gotten this question. So 37% of you answered this question correctly. A similar percentage are still solving, which means they are confused about this, and that's okay. Absolutely fine. Some people have made this mistake of selecting choice E. The correct answer here is choice C. 0 is the correct answer. Now, I'm going to get the chat pod. We're going to quickly discuss this, okay? And again, guys, one thing that I want to tell you all is don't you at the end of this session you're not going to become experts in solving these questions. Okay, that's not the intent of this session. The intent of this session is to give you a framework of how is it that you can master application. So don't get scared. These skills take time, but with the right tool set you will be able to master those. Okay, so that's the approach that I want you all to have. Okay, so 20 distinct integers, that's the difference. In the previous question, distinct is the keyword. Absolutely, Yash. And tukkebaz, that's an interesting name. So include 0 in the series. Absolutely. So let's look at this. Consecutive integers, again, same thing. Negative 10, 0, 10, 21 numbers. Now, 20 distinct integers are to be selected. So this time, look at my notes. What I'm saying is there are 21 numbers and they include negative, 0, and positive. There are 10 negative, 1 0, and 1 and 10 positive. So look, my notes have changed. Okay. Again, your notes will change depending upon the question. And that's the skill set that you have to develop. Okay, which you will be able to develop if you are going through the right kind of questions in your prep. Now, 20 distinct integers have to be selected. Now, 20 different integers, right? Now, there's case number 1 in which I select a 0. 0 is one of those 20 integers, which means what's my product? My product is 0. Okay, no brainer. Now, there could be another case, and that's something which I want to evaluate because I don't want to just look at 0, find it in the answer choices and mark it and go. That's really wrong. Okay, you have to be absolutely sure that 0 is the correct answer here. So what you do is you think about it. Okay, I need the smallest product. Okay, now what can be smaller than 0? Tell me in chat. What can be smaller than 0? A negative number. So now what I'm trying to figure out is there a possibility of having a negative product here, which is smaller than 0? Okay, that's I'm trying to figure that out, right? Now, for the product to be negative, I need to have odd number of negative numbers. That's my concept retrieval. Okay, this is my concept retrieval. Okay, now for that to happen, now I have 10 negative numbers, right? But I can maximum take 9 negative numbers, right? So if I take maximum 9 negative numbers, which means, and the remaining will need to come from positive, which means I have 10 positive numbers, but I absolutely have to take a zero because my product has to be of 20 numbers, right? So I need to have, so this product will always be zero. Okay. So yes, I did my check of whether negative product is possible or not. And even after I did all my working, I got to a product of zero, which means the correct answer is zero. Himani, how we inferred the odd number thing is that's the concept retrieval over here. I'm going to repeat it once here. So if you have negative times negative, it becomes a positive number, right? If you have negative times another negative number, it's a negative number, right? So this is the concept that odd number of negative numbers multiplied together will always result in a negative number, whereas even number of negative numbers multiplied together will always be a positive number. Andre, the reason why we included case number two, again, why case number two was why it will include a zero? Because I cannot have, because I need to have 20 product of 20 integers, right? But with 9 negative numbers and 10 positive numbers, only have 19, product of 19, but I needed to have 20, which means I need to select a zero. Carol, if you didn't pick a zero, went with the other 20 integers, remember what are your other 20 integers? Let me just get rid of this. Okay. You have, and this is why we have to chart this out. You have 10 negative, 10 positive, and 1 0, right? Right. And again, this is the power of notes. If you take your notes in this manner, you will be able to look at the stuff right away. Out of these 10 negative, you can only pick 9 negative because of your concept, right? Now you pick up these 10, you're still left with 1, which means that 0 has to be included. Okay? All right. So again, in this question, same thing over here. You visualize, you make your notes. By visualizing, what we mean is that you essentially write down everything in your own words. Okay. Um, yes, all integers have to be unique. That's what this thing says, right? Different integers, which is again, you need to write that down. Okay. All right. We infer, okay, and we then infer again. So again, these process skills help you, give you that structured process to solve the questions. Okay. Again, process skills give you a language to make your error log effective, and maintaining an error log is very, very important. Okay. All right. So, KP, this session is being recorded. I want you to go through the recording of this one because I think you may have missed that important point when I was discussing it. But for the sake of the rest of the class, I'll have to move on to the next question. Okay. I hope that's okay, KP. Yeah. All right. Now, let's come to the last question. Here, sum is as small as possible. So, I'm going to, do you guys want to try your hand at this question now that you've solved? No, this is the second question. Sorry, not the third one. Yeah. So do you guys want to solve this question on your own once again, or should I go into the detailed discussion? How many of you want to take a stab at this question now that you have a certain idea of process skills? Okay, sounds good. I like the enthusiasm. So again, own the question. Okay, I'm going to bring up the previous thing over here. I'm going to. So right now, I'm going to broadcast the results. You can see the results. Okay. Right now, this is how it looks like. D is the most popular choice. Okay. In no way am I trying to influence you, but I'm just showing you what is the data before you guys took another stab at it. D is the most popular choice, then followed by C. Okay. I'm going to reopen the poll. Go ahead and solve it. I'm going to give you about a minute. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, so things moved a little bit more in the direction of choice D. Okay, all right. So, did this question seem any easier, or were you able to get a little bit closer to it? No? Okay. You don't get it? Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so let's look at this here. Again, this is another one, and again, I wasn't expecting this to become any easier. Okay, um, this is another one which seems to be like a probability PNC type of a question. Okay, but it is not. So let's look at this again. Let's apply our process step by step. Okay, five integers between 10 and 29, 10 and 99. What does this mean? What can you tell me about these five integers? What is the characteristic of these five integers? Are they single digit numbers? Are they two digit numbers? Are they three digit numbers? What can you infer from it? Double digit positive numbers. Absolutely. Good. Okay. Now, my next question to you is, so the minute you come to this the minute you come to this point over here, that these are two digit numbers, what you do is you make those two digit numbers here. Okay, because ultimately you need those five numbers. Okay, this is the visualization that we are doing. Okay, how many of you made these two digit numbers in your notes? Placeholders. Okay. So if you didn't do that, you need to start doing that. Okay. Especially when you are in the learning mode. Okay. So good. For those of you who did this, really good. Did you used to do this earlier? People who did this, people who selected yes here, eight of you, is this something that you did earlier as well? No? Okay, so that's the learning that you had from this session. Good, very nice. So taking notes, very good, Sarah. Okay, thank you for sharing that. All right, now next one over here. These five integers are to be found by using each of the 10 digits. Now you know these 10 digits, right? 0 through 9, exactly once. What does this mean? Is there repetition allowed here? Is there repetition allowed? No, repetition is not allowed. So that's something which I want you to write down. No repetition allowed. Each number, each place over here needs to have a unique digit. Okay. Which 10 digits, Himani? There are only these are the 10 digits, 0 through 9. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Those are the digits to be used. Okay, next one. What is the condition? The sum of these five integers needs to be as small as possible. Now, what does that mean? How can the sum of these digits or of these integers be as small as possible? Think about it. That this is the inference that you have to draw. How can sum be the smallest? When the numbers are minimum. Absolutely, yes. When numbers are as small as possible. Now, these are two digit numbers. So, how can two digits number be as small as possible? Absolutely. Small. You need one. Absolutely. Hendra, Jack, Tukebas, all of you are correct. Himani, you are not exactly right because you said less than 50. 50s will also be included here. So essentially, you need to have the inference to be drawn over here is that your tens digits need to be as small as possible. Now, these are your tens digits, right? Now, what can go in these tens digits? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely. One. First, we are filling up our tens digits, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Can 0 be in this list? 0 is, after all, smallest integer. Can 0 be over here? 0 to be the second. Why can't 0 be in the tens place? Why can 0 not be in the tens place? It will be a single digit number. Absolutely. That's a constraint here. Absolutely. Good. So, because it's a two digit number, so 0 will not be there. Okay, good. And obviously, because 10 and 99 are already inclusive. Yes, Harsha. So, it least is 10. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, that would be a single digit number. Now, what does it mean for the units digit? Now, we can't repeat any of these numbers. Okay. So what does it mean for the units digit? Units digit will have numbers anywhere from, will have 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0, right? Okay. Now, what is the question? The question is asking us to find the greatest possible integer that could be among these five numbers, right? Greatest possible integer. What does that mean? What in this greatest possible integer, what will we have? What's the characteristic of this greatest possible integer? It should have the largest possible digit in each of the two places, right? That's the inference that you will draw. Greatest possible in tens also and in ones also. Now in tens, what is the answer? It is 5, right? In units place, what's the largest digit possible? It's 9. So 59 is the correct answer. Got it? And see, the order doesn't matter here. You're ultimately adding all of this up. Okay. So till what point did you guys get? Okay, let me go back to the slide. Where are we? So did we get till this point that tens digit can be occupied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, this was good. Himani? Okay, good. Renato, good. Now, what are the remaining digits possible? We need to fill in the units digit, right? So tell me, what are the digits, remaining digits possible? We can fill in the units digit with 0, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Everybody good with that? We can fill in the units digit with 0, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, Sarah, yes, unit digit can't be 0 for all because we can use them exactly once only. Okay, the remaining numbers are 0, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so let's leave it at that. Now, greatest possible integer amongst these possible integers will be what? What's the characteristic of the greatest possible integer? That both tens and units place should have maximum possible number, right? So 9 is the maximum possible number that will go in tens place, in units place. That's where 59 comes into picture. The sum needs to be as small as possible, absolutely. But Sarah, wherever you place 9, the sum will always will remain the same. Absolutely, Hendra. The sum would be the same regardless of where you place 9. Whether you place 9 here, so think about this. Let's take 10 and 59. Okay, let's just take these two numbers. What's the sum? 69. Now I'm going to replace these two. I'll take 19 and I'll take 50. What is the sum? It's still 69. So the order doesn't matter here at all. Got it? Okay, so another question in which there was no specific concept that was needed. All we needed was apply the process skills, drawing the right kind of inferences. Baswa, every digit is exactly once because that's where the language of the question. Look at the language. Each of the 10 digits exactly once, regardless of whether they are in the units place or in the tens place. Okay? So again, inferences and visualization. That's the key here. Okay? All right. How many of you feel as if this is getting in your control? I'm not expecting a yes everywhere. But do you feel that there isn't a whole lot of complicated things required? Okay, so Tony, I understand where you're coming from. This was just an example. These numbers were just an example that I put here to show that 0, 6, 7, 8, and 9 will populate units digits. Those were just examples here. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move to our next question here. The next question is, this is the last one for number properties, and then we'll move to word problems. Okay. Do you want to take a stab at it or should I just discuss this? Vibho, that's an interesting question. This one actually comes under number properties, believe me. Okay. I know there's a lot of translation required here, but this definitely comes under number properties question just because of the concept that is that is being tested. The concept being tested here is digits, right? So that's the reason why this comes under number properties. Okay, so let's discuss this question directly. Yeah. The product of all prime numbers less than 20 is closest to which of the following powers of 10? And I'm going to show you your answers here. Question number 3, broadcast. So choice D was the most popular choice, then choice followed by choice C. We'll see what the correct choice is. Okay. I want you to solve this question with me. So I'm going to be asking you questions and I want you to write down your notes in the chat. The product of all prime numbers less than 20, what will you do at this step? Write your notes here. What will you do in this step? List down the prime numbers. Let's list them down. List them down. 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 13, 17, 19. Good. Okay, write all prime numbers smaller than 20. Okay, written down. Good. Is closest to which of the following powers of 10? Now we have to take product of these. How many numbers are these? How many numbers are we talking about? 8 numbers. What do you think you should do? You have to find the product. What's the next thing that you will do? What does the question say? Is closest to which of the following powers of 10? What does that mean? Round off, yes. Why do you think we can round it off? What in the question tells you that we can round this off? You have to take Q's powers of 10. Absolutely. Powers of 10 closest to, and then you look at the answer choices, you see that the answer choices are order of magnitude, at least one order of magnitude different from one to another, right? Powers near to 10, closest to 10. So all of this tells you that estimation or approximation is absolutely fine. Okay. So for those of you who are scared of numbers or who are scared of doing calculations, your mind should be at ease that the test maker is not expecting you to do calculations. The test maker is expecting you to actually not do calculations but to do estimation. Okay. Even if you had a calculator here, that would be the wrong thing to do, because punching these 8 numbers and doing the calculations has a lot higher chances of you making errors, okay, than doing what the question is expecting you to do, which is to estimate. Now, how do you estimate? There are 2 different ways in which you can estimate over here. There are a total of 8 numbers. Tell me what Tell me one possible grouping. Give me a grouping over here. Will you start off with 2 times 3 times 5? I mean, how will you go about 2 times 5? Absolutely. That's the first group that you will make, because that gives you a 10 directly, right? So you have one 10 already. What would be the next grouping? Well, Yella, we already did 2, right? 2 and 5 are already taken. So give me another grouping. You could do 3, 11, or you could do 3 and 7. Absolutely. What does 3 and 7 give? We know it gives 21, but what we'll say is it's approximately 20, because remember, we need things closer to 10, right? The next one, what we could do is we could do one of two things. One, we could either just estimate 11 to be 10, 13 also to be 10, okay, then 17 to be 20, and 19 to be 20. Instead of grouping them, we can just approximate these to be closer, as closer, so round them off to the nearest 10. Okay. Now what do we have? Think about, we have one, two, three. How many tens we have? We have 6 tens. Okay. And then we have 2 3 times, which is 8. Okay. Look at this over here. We have 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. So that's an 8. Okay. And then we have 1, 2. So we have total of 6 tens, right? What does this give us? This gives us 10 to the power 7, because this is approximated to 10 again. Okay. So what we have is 10 to the power 7. That's the answer. Okay. Yes, so we can do multiple ways of grouping. Whatever makes more sense to you, whatever you're more comfortable with, you can group them that way. Okay, this is another way of grouping it, wherein I've created groups of pairs, right? So 2 times 5, 3 times 7, 11 times 19. Now the way I'm choosing these two numbers is that, again, you don't need to know that part, but again, 9 plus 1 over here gives me a 10. Likewise, 3 plus 7 gives me a 10, right? So, and these products are closer to 200, right? So again, I get the same thing. But even if you're not comfortable with numbers to that degree, what we did in the previous one, wherein we rounded off these bigger numbers to the nearest tens, that's absolutely fine. But the mistake that I don't want you to do is I don't want you to miss out on these numbers here. Okay, because a lot of people simply do 10 to the power 6 because they ignore the twos here. These twos are giving you another 10. Okay, so the answer is 10 to the power 7. Yeah, absolutely, Yash. Whatever works. Again, as I said, the main thing over here was that you have to do estimation. And for estimation, you need to do rounding. And what in the question tells you to do estimation, right? So that's the thought process that I wanted you guys to follow. Beyond that, how you do estimation depends on your comfort level with the numbers, okay, and with the processing. So again, inferring that estimation was required. Again, visualizing, that was important. And obviously, the appropriate manipulation over here. How you do the manipulation, how you do the estimation, that's completely up to what your comfort level with numbers is. Okay. So overall, again, the process skills give you a language to help you apply these concepts, right? And to help you make your error log effective, which is what we'll talk about later as we go into the later stages of our prep. But so far, um, absolutely, these questions will definitely come in GMAT focus. This is all of these, as I said, are 700 plus level questions. Okay, the more you build your skill set in arithmetic, the more you will be closer to your ability levels, to high ability levels in DI, in data insights. And all of this logic is going to help you a lot with data insights. Okay, so everything that you do in arithmetic is going to have an impact on how well you do in two-part analysis questions that are quant focused. Okay, so that's one type of question, and in GI, graphic interpretation, and in TA. So there are three different question types in DI that have a direct impact of how well you do in arithmetic. So if you build your skills in arithmetic, each of these three topics in DI will become easier for you because all of this is logic. Okay. Again, all these questions were 700 level questions. So we have solved three questions till now, right? Three 700 level questions with easy concepts. Okay. What do you guys make of what you have learned so far? What do you take away from the session so far? Very easy to make careless mistakes. And ND, you bring up a good point. Careless mistakes. I will talk about that. Facing problem with wording. So, Baswa, in terms of process skills, what would that be? If you're facing problems with wording, there are these process skills, right? We talked about translate, visualize, right? So that is really the translate process skill that you're facing problems with. Okay. ND, tell me, where did you make a careless mistake? And so what careless mistake did you make? Translating wording to arithmetic, absolutely. That is translate process skill. Now, when I say process skills give you a language to make your error log effective, every time you answer a question incorrectly, you have to tell which process skill did you miss. Okay. And for that reason, you need to have these solid solutions that give you this type of feedback. Okay. Did you not visualize? Did you not manipulate? Did you not infer? For example, if you spent a whole lot of time in doing the products over here, right? That means you didn't draw an inference because you didn't estimate. Or if you basically ignored the twos over here, then that means you didn't manipulate it correctly, right? So those are the things that you have to make a note of, right? Likewise, in the previous question, if you selected a negative number as the correct answer, this means that you didn't infer correctly. Okay. How can you improve process skill, Himani? That's a good question. And in fact, that's what takes me to my next section over here. How can you become an arithmetic champ? And as I said, arithmetic champ will also give you an edge in, if you become an arithmetic champ, you will also get an edge in TPA quant, in GI, in TA. So there's a lot at stake over here. First of all, one complete section, okay, one quant section, right? That is that ability over here. Secondly, you have this DI section, and that also you have the ability to ace, okay? Nelson makes an interesting thing. The approach to questions makes the question easier. In fact, turn 700 level questions into 600 level. Absolutely, Nelson, right? Because if you are able to apply these process skills on difficult questions, that means you can answer those correctly. That means for you, those questions are easy. Okay, so let's talk about the plan. How can you get to 90th percentile in arithmetic? And arithmetic includes three topics here: number properties, word problems, and advanced topics. And in this session, we've talked about number properties. Next set of questions will be word problems. Advanced topics we are not taking because they do require conceptual understanding. Okay. All right. So your journey to 90th percentile score requires these two steps: arithmetic conceptual mastery, which is what Vibhu said, have to revise first question, but need to practice more such questions of similar pattern, right? And then process skill mastery. Okay, so first you have to learn the concepts. Now the questions that we did here, they were easy concepts, right? But obviously you will have questions which test different concepts, right? So you have to learn the concepts, right? Second thing is process skill mastery. To the extent, and this is something which is important, to the extent that your accuracy increases and timing decreases, and you don't even feel as if you are consciously applying the process skills. So these process skills need to become a second nature. And they do become a second nature because that's what our students tell us, and that's what their results tell us. And that's the reason why I'm so confident about it. Okay. Now, how do you do that? This is your core journey here. You first learn concepts and application, and this is something which you do using the e-GMAT quant course. And I'll give you a demo of that. Okay. So here you need to have high accuracy in files. You need consistency. You have to, if you've started a particular module, and I'll walk you through what that module looks like, you need to be consistent there. You can't just be skipping things. Okay. And you work on one thing at a time. If you're working on number properties, you need to be working on just number properties. You can't be working on word problems at the same time. Okay. So this is the job of the course. So remember I said we have different tools for different purposes. That's the job of the course. Okay. The next thing that comes up over here is your master application. So once you learn, then you have to master. And I will walk you through this also. This is where your cementing quizzes, your Scholaranium platform comes into picture. Okay, and I'll walk you through that. Also, you need to have solid metrics that, okay, when you're taking a quiz, what is the metric that you are trying to accomplish? Okay, so in this stage, you need to be getting to 60% accuracy in hard questions. We are not expecting you to solve all hard questions correctly. Absolutely not. To achieve that 80th percentile ability, you need to be able to consistently solve hard questions with 60% accuracy. Make a note of this. Okay. Then you go into being test ready. This is where you use deep analytics to isolate your weak areas, to fix your specific weaknesses. Okay. And that is when you get to that 90% accuracy in hard questions. And that's when you're ready to hit that 90th percentile ability. Does this make sense? Does this core journey make sense to you? And did you ever think of your quant preparation to be this clear? Good. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you our base architecture, okay? And I am going to do a demo here. So I'm going to get another share, and I'm doing this for the first time. Usually I just keep screenshots here, but I thought, why not try this out so that I can give you an actual live course demo here so that you can put all of this into context. So give me just um, 1 second here. Let's see, what am I sharing? First monitor. Okay. Okay. What was I sharing? Can you just tell me what were you able to see on the screen? Because I want to make sure I'm sharing the right monitor. PC files. Okay, then that wasn't the right monitor. So thank you. And I want to share this one here. Stop sharing. Screen, second monitor. Okay. Okay, now what am I sharing? e-GMAT website. Perfect. Okay, this is the right one. So this is a student account. This is so let me just walk you through what your quant course would look like. Quant basics, that's the basics course that everyone needs to do. Then you have number properties, that's what we're talking about today. Word problems, that's the next section that we'll pick up. Algebra, geometry, advanced topics. Obviously for GMAT focus, you don't need to go through geometry, so you can skip that one. Okay, now every course has the space architecture, which is personalized adaptive course engine. What this does is it personalizes your course based on your ability level, not on quant level, but on each and every topic level. So, as an example, look at this. You see the time estimates over here. Estimated course duration for this quant basics course is about 16 hours. So everybody can see over here, estimated course duration. But for this student, because the student had a lot of basic understanding of quant, he didn't really need to spend about 9 hours on it. Ultimately, he only needed to spend 7 hours. Okay. And that is the beauty of the space architecture. It helps each one of you, regardless of whether you are at 30th percentile today or at 80th percentile today. It helps every student to create their own personalized course. Okay, and let me show you how that works. You see this diagnostic quiz? Every module has a diagnostic quiz. So the student took this diagnostic quiz, got 100%. He was asked to skip all these files. Okay. Likewise, he moved to the next one, simplifying integer expressions. Took this concept quiz, asked to skip all the files. He skipped all the files. Let's come over here. Miscellaneous topics. Now here he scored 100%, but I think he took more time than he should have. That's the reason why these two files were not rejected, were not hidden for him. So he needed to take those files. He scored well and he moved on. So every time you spend, so look over here, concept quiz, he got an 89%. So he was given feedback. All of these files, C1, Introduction to Decimals, Operations with Decimals, these two were hidden for him, or he could still see them, but he didn't really need to go through these files. He can still access them. But then C3, Simplifying Decimal Expressions, this is where some gap was. So he went through this file and looked the amount of time that he spent on this file. He made sure that he's learned that really well by taking this quiz. He got the feedback that he's doing well. Magic of 5 and 2. That's what we kind of applied today for this product question, right? So he did that file, mastered it, and moved on. Okay, that's quant basics. Okay, let me go to number properties. Similar thing. You see similar thing over here. Number properties was his weak area. 37 hours of content as such. If a person does the entire course, but through the diagnostics, he was able to save 6.5 hours. Okay, so look at this here. How does that work? Now, for these concepts, because these are Difficult concepts, we have instead of one diagnostic, there are two diagnostics. So observe for every topic you take two diagnostics, one at the GMAT skill level, okay, one at the concept level. GMAT skill level tells you where you're at, concept level tells you whether you should be doing these concepts or not. Okay, so observe here. In primes, he got a 72% in GMAT skills, but in concept diagnostic, he got a he got 100%. So he was able to skip these files. He was able to skip the concept files here as well. So all his attention was on building his process skills. That's exactly what we were doing today. Because the concepts were easy, right? We didn't spend any time in learning those concepts, but we spent the time in first learning the process skills, then applying those process skills on more difficult questions. So here, all the process skill files contain questions which are maybe 500 to 600 level. All the GMAT skills files contains questions which are 700 level. Okay, so that is the beauty of you going through this course over here, which personalizes each and every topic for you, not just at the course level, right, but it's truly personalized based on your abilities on a particular topic. Okay, any questions here? I'm looking at the chat pod here. You guys are awfully quiet. All right. So you look at this part here, translating word problems. We are going into word problems right now, right? Now, translating is a very, so we don't, so if you look at the modules here, translating, visualizing, honing word problem skills, here in these three modules, there's no specific concept here, okay? But what we are teaching you is how do you apply these process skills? How do you translate a long bit of information, right? So that's what we are doing. How do we visualize information here? How do you create diagrams? How do you create tree structures? How do you tabulate data? So we show you all of that, but only if you need that, right? This student, for example, was inherently good in tabulating data, right? Either he didn't need to tabulate data because he was able to process the information. Long story short, questions that we felt required tabulating data, but he was able to answer those correctly in the concept quiz, told us that, okay, this guy doesn't need to spend any time on this tabulating data resource, right? But he needed to spend time on GMAT skills. And look, his diagnostic quiz score over here was 79%, but in the practice quiz he scored 100%. And that's the beauty of it. When you start something, you get to know your level, right? And then when you end that module, you feel accomplished because now you have accomplished, you've gained, you've improved a lot. So every 15 minutes to 30 minutes on that you spend on the platform, you get feedback right away, right? And that's the beauty of the space architecture. That's the beauty of you just, making sure that you're spending your time on the right resources. Look at this. 10 almost 11 hours of time was saved for this student. Okay, imagine what you can do in those 11 hours. Okay, all right, so I'm going to stop sharing now. And again, that's the same thing which we have in algebra. Exactly same philosophy applies on algebra across all quant courses. Okay. And if you want to see data insights, this is the course for data insights. Again, everything, the most comprehensive course that exists in the world, that is that's over here. Okay. Absolutely, Andy. It has good question bank that's similar to the actual questions. We create all our questions in house. Okay, and yeah. Um, can I join e-GMAT and be ready to sit in the exam for in 2 months? Depends on where you're at. If you're planning your take the mock, okay, and create your personalized study plan. That's what I would suggest. But yes, 2 months is a good amount of time, right? Absolutely. So all right, so let me stop sharing now. I hope this was helpful. Was this demo helpful? Again, I'm doing this demo for the first time, so would like to get your opinion on that. Good, very nice. And here are some successes. I would want you to, after the session, definitely click on these links over here. These people who scored a Q51, in this case, 750 score, they swear by the pace architecture. Okay, they swear by the process skill. So it's one thing that I'm saying that yes, I've given you a demo. Yes, you're seeing the session, but it always helps to see what your fellow test takers are have experienced, right? So that you can learn from what their experience are have been, right? So when you already have a high quant score, you ask the question, what will it take to get to a perfect score? Okay, the course answers that question. The diagnostic test, the test that I showed you in while in the demo, and Scholaranium, that's something that I haven't shown you yet, told me where I needed help. Okay, the process skills, especially consider all cases and drawing inferences. We've already looked at drawing inferences, filled in the needed gaps, right? And again, all of that is possible because our entire course is built with that methodology. Okay. Likewise, over here, what stopped me from getting a high GMAT score was that I could not break the problem down. That's what we've been talking about. Process skills not only helped me do that, but also allowed me to answer the hardest questions in less than 2 minutes. Okay. Because again, if you can't answer questions fast, then obviously it's a time test. You need to be able to answer questions fast, which is where these process skills help the process become second nature to you. Okay. Again, concepts can only get you so far. If you want to solve hard questions in 2 minutes, it's very important for you to have a consistent process, and the process skills ensure that. Okay. So, again, one thing to keep in mind is achieve mastery one step at a time. Okay. That's very, very important. Okay. And again, I see some questions over here. I will answer those questions shortly. Mastering so when you so as I said, when you're doing number properties, focus just on number properties, don't look at multiple things. Okay, when you're doing cementing, just be doing cementing. Okay, now this is where I won't go I won't spend too much time on this, but this is Scholaranium. This is what you do for mastering application over here. Again, as I said, we have purpose built tools for each and everything. What I gave you a demo of the space architecture over here, which is the course. Now, this is where Scholaranium comes into picture, where you have these purpose-built cementing quizzes, these cementing quizzes, which with clear indication of what your metric is, what is a metric to be hit. And again, it's we don't expect you to hit those metrics right away, right? This student faltered here. The key for this students, for any student's improvement, is that when you're faltering here, you are questioning yourself. Okay, where did I make a mistake? And that's where the process skills give you that language. Okay, so that is very, very important. Okay, so and again, as you improve, as you solve questions in the right manner with the right approach, your accuracy will improve and your time to answer questions will go down. Why? Because the process skills are becoming second nature to you. Okay, another important thing that I want you all to observe is that we give you deep analytics. Okay, we know what data is important because we've been working with students since the last decade here, so we understand what data is important, and data is paramount. So typically, test prep companies will give you your overall accuracy. Now, the 79% doesn't tell me much. What it tells me is, and this is a data insights question or a graphic interpretation question, this student started off at 78%, then moved to 77%, right? Now it is 100%, right? So now in the last 15 attempts, this student has scored 100%, right? And that is the confidence that you need to have as you are preparing for your test. And that's very, very important. Okay. And the data gives you that, because in the absence of this kind of data, you wouldn't know whether you have improved or whether you have plateaued. And that's very, very important. Okay. All right. So now we're going to come to our word problems, and I'm going to give you this question here. So let's get into our question solving mode. Okay, let's click on still solving. So, does GMAT online include preparation for GMAT Focus Edition? Absolutely, it does. Okay, so here's your question. Again, apply the process skills that you have learned till now, or try applying those. Okay. Do you guys need more time? Because I've given quite a bit of time and all right, I'm going to end the poll here. And I think instead of doing this in a sprint manner, I think we should solve each question. Let me bring back the chat here. So do you guys want to solve the next question, or do you want me to solve this question first with you and then move on to the next one? Whatever you guys want to do. Solve this question. Okay. All right. So I'm getting a mixed response here. I'm going to solve this question just given the performance in this question. Quite a few of you, about 50% of you, were still solving. How was this question? Let's talk about that. So let's discuss it. Okay, easy. Difficult for me. What was difficult? Tell me that. I plugged in the option, I think that's called back solving. Yeah. See, back solving doesn't work every time, and I'm not a fan of back solving. Wasn't able to figure out wasn't able to figure out what to do at all. Okay, this is a complicated question. Okay, it is a difficult question, and again, we have to stick to our process. Okay, so let's do that. Again, translation is the key here. Translating and drawing inferences. And then there is one concept which all of us know, but applying that concept may be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, and that's what we are here to learn. Okay, Jorge's bank statement showed a balance that was 54 cents greater than what his records showed. Now, what does this mean? Okay, we need to, before we read any further, because any more information that we read is going to not help us understand this, but it's actually going to overwhelm us. Which is why the thing that I want all of you to do is, as you're reading, as I said earlier, internalize that information in your own words. Okay, so that is very, very important. So, what's the actual in the bank? Okay, and the self record. So the actual amount in his bank was greater than the record that he keeps for himself. Okay, everyone with me on this? Yes. Okay, good. Now the next thing over here is the actual pay. What does that mean? What that means is, if the actual in the bank was greater than the actual money in the bank was greater than the stuff that he recorded, right? This means that the payment that he made was actually less than the payment that he recorded. Is that okay? Because the next thing what he's saying is, he discovered that he had written a check for X point for YZ and had recorded it at as X point ZY, right? Where each of X, Y, and Z represent a digit from 0 through 9. Now, what does that mean? That the actual payment that he made, which is X point YZ, was less than X point ZY. Okay, everyone with me on this? Good. Now, what you have done is you've actually translated all the language into mathematical terms. That's the translation that you've done. How many of you were able to do this? Because again, as I said, when you're filling up your error logs, you should be able to tell where did you falter. Okay, so for those of you who were able to do this means that translation was not a problem for you. Himani, if the actual in the bank is higher than self-reported, then the actual, no. So Himani, what's the actual in the bank? He's making a payment to somebody, right? So if you make a payment to somebody, so again, put yourself in this situation. The bank is showing the remaining money, right? So if you made a payment already, right, and your actual in the bank is showing a higher value, that means that the payment was actually smaller than what you had recorded. So just put yourself in this scenario. Okay. Now, if you were able to do till that point, then good job. Translation is not a problem for this question. Now let's move further. This is where you're at. Okay. How many of you got to this point? And if you didn't get to this point, click on no. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what happens beyond this point. Now, this is the concept retrieval that you have to do. And this is a simple concept of place value. When you have a decimal number, let's say 3.26, what does that mean? That means 3 times 1 plus 2 divided by 10 plus 6 divided by 0. How many of you are aware of this concept? Okay. So for those of you who are clicking on no for this one, and am I broadcasting the results? Yes, I am. Okay. For those of you who are clicking on no for this one, then again, Quant Basics course has this covered. Okay. So you need to learn this concept. Okay. But right now, just go along with the flow, that think that you know this concept, right? The concept is right here. Now see how to apply this concept. Okay. Now, how we apply this concept is, we simply put the place values here. Z, observe my number at the 10th place. Okay, let me get my pen. Z divided by 10. Y divided by 100. So far, so good? Yes? I'm simply translating this information in terms of the place value. Okay. Then I have a minus. I have to subtract this y divided by 10. Okay. Because y is at the 10th place and z is at the 100th place. So z divided by 100. is equal to 0.54, which is what? 5 divided by 10 and plus 4 divided by 100. How many of you got this now? Okay. Next, all you have to do is, and let me get rid of this stuff here. Hmm. Next, all you have to do is process this information. Manipulation is needed. So you simply take LCM. Okay, simplification is needed here. You take LCM. What you end up getting is Z is equal to 6 plus Y. Got it? What do you not get? See, all of this is processing, which you are going to learn in Quant Basics course. Okay. Where is the 3 from again? Where is the 3? Oh, this 3. This was just an example that I took, Jack. That's just an example because I was just telling you what the concept is. Okay. So now we have Z is equal to 6 plus Y. Okay. So how many of you were able to do it till this point? Because I know a number of you would have stopped at this point. You wouldn't know how to process it further. Okay. But now do you understand how to process this further? Comments? You know the concept retrieval. So after the session, again, I will share this PDF with you. Okay. After the session, I want you to do this processing on your own. Okay. Why is it 10Z? Again, 10Z because I'm taking LCM. Again, it's if it's getting confusing right now, you need to sit down with this on your own. Okay. And then do this. Again, if you go through Quant Basics course, this will be absolutely clear because we go through this kind of processing there. Okay. You're taking LCM. Basically, you have these 10s, 100, 10, 100, 10, 100, right? You're processing this. Where has the X gone? X minus X is 0. Okay, X is not there. You're subtracting, right? Okay, good. So guys, if you process it on your own, you will get it. Now the next step over here is that Z, what we need is what could be the value of Z. Okay, now that's an interesting thing. What could be the value of Z, right? So you have this relationship here, Z is equal to 6 plus Y. So all you'll do is you will take all the possible values of Y for which you get a good value of Z. So you take Y is equal to 0 because again, all of these are digits, right? So if Y is 0, Z is 6. If Y is 1, Z is 7. If Y is 2, Z is 8. If Y is 3, Z is 9. If Y is 4, Z is 10. Well, 10 is not possible. Okay? So the correct answer is 6. That's the only. So if you look at the choices, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the only option over here. So 6 is the correct answer. Andre, it is 10Z because that it has a denominator of 10. So it's multiplied by 10. Again, it's the LCM concept that you need to learn. Why? So we needed the value of Z. So Z is equal to 6. Okay. So again, what I would recommend all of you to do is process this information on your own. Okay. You will get this. But long story short, the various steps of processing over here, and you have the solution right in front of you, you needed to translate. Through translation, you got to this point. Okay. So if you were able to get to this point, translation is not a problem, which is not a problem for quite a few of you. But beyond this point, you had to infer. Okay. You had to do which required appropriate concept retrieval. Okay. Which required simplification over here. So depending upon what all steps you are struggling with, those are the things that go in your error log so that you work on improving those parts. Okay, but the key thing over here is you have a language. Okay, the question is you just don't say I solved a number properties question incorrectly. You now say I made a simplification mistake, I made a visualization mistake, I wasn't able to infer. That's the language that you have. Okay, all right. So, Yella, I want you to go through the recording again, and I want you to solve this question on your own. Okay, because the question that you are asking is not a is not a valid question. Why? Because what you're saying is, how does logically 0.54 link to 6? I'm not linking 0.54 to 6. I'm getting the value of z. Okay, so that is the problem over here. Okay. Yes. Ishita, why can't Z be 7? Because Z is not in the options. Thank you, Baswa. Okay. Good, Vibho. If this is your concept gap and you're motivated to build it, that's really good. Okay. All right. So um we are almost at the 2 hour point range. Okay. A 2 hour window here. Do we want to solve two more questions? This is again a 700 level question, guys. All of these are 700 plus level questions. Easy concepts, but difficult application. Okay, so let's solve this question. Now, this question, the next one, definitely has some concept required, which is a simple concept: distance is equal to speed into time. Okay, nothing else beyond that. Okay, but right now, with word problems as well, once you have seen the solution, do you feel as if you follow this approach, you should be able to master arithmetic? Are you getting that confidence? Yes, you're not able to solve questions correctly, but are you getting that confidence? Because that confidence is very important. Good, very nice. All right, so let's take a look at the next question here. And question number 5. Let's click on still solving. Okay, here it is. All right. I've given you about 3 minutes to solve this question, and people who are getting it are getting the answer right. Okay. There's still quite a few people who are still solving the questions. I'm going to stop this right now so that we can discuss this question. Again, this is a difficult question. So let me broadcast the results here. So the correct answer is choice B. And as I said, there are people who are getting who are able to solve the question are getting it, but there's still quite a few people, about half of you, who haven't attempted the question. So, what did you think of this question? Yeah, it's an LCM question. Okay. All right. So let's solve this question. Oh, my animations didn't come. That's a bummer. Hmm. Okay. Sorry. So I will. The animations didn't come, so everything came here together. So let me just tell you where to focus on. Okay. So first of all, there is this track over here. Oh no, this doesn't work. Pen. Here you go. There's this track over here, right? So Candace and Sabrina. Now, anytime you solve, so just focus on this part here, okay? And actually, I can get rid of the remaining part. So give me 1 second. Okay, so this is better. Okay, so anytime we solve a distance speed time question, we always create this table called as DST table. Okay, so we have this DST table, and let's get rid of this. Okay, so D, ST, and Candace, Sabrina. Okay, so we are talking about, so the information that has been given to us is about how much time does each take to complete a lap. Okay, in the track. So which means the time for Candace is 42 seconds, the time for Sabrina is 46 seconds. So what I've assumed over here is I've assumed that one lap is D meters. Okay, just to have some semblance of time of distance there, which means that the speed is d by 42 for Candace and d by 46 for Sabrina. Is this clear, everyone? Okay, good. Next, let me 1 second. Okay. Now, next one, what is given to us is that how many laps around the track had Candace completed the next time Candace and Sabrina were together at a starting point. Now, if they have to be together at a starting point, what does that mean? Each lap means, see, this is a an oval thing, right? So think of it as a, this is a running track or a training or a biking track. So it's an oval shaped track, right? So you start from here and then you go all the way and then you come back. Okay, so that's what a lap is. Now what the question is asking is key that when do they meet next time at the starting point. Okay, now at the starting point, what will be the scenario? The time that has gone by, because if they are meeting at the starting point, this means that the time that has elapsed is equal for both of them, and they have done complete laps. Because if they are meeting back again at the starting point, this means that they have completed the laps. This means that they have completed these laps, right? They've done integer number of or they've done whole laps here. That's what would get them to back to the starting point. Okay, is this point clear? Now with this understanding, what we do is we create our next DST table, okay, with this information. And that is the, how do I get rid of this part here? Okay, sorry. Okay, not able to get rid of this part. Okay, so we create our second DST table, and here we assume that, let's say Candace has n labs and Sabrina has completed m labs. We already have their speeds, and the time is the same. So from there we get 42n is equal to 46m, which is their time. Okay. And exactly right, multiple of 42 and 46. So we simplify that, and what we get is 21n is equal to 23m, which means that n is equal to 23, and that's your answer. So which step did you guys falter at, or which step were you guys stuck at? Because a number of you were stuck at this. Because that's the question to answer. Were you not able to understand what does it mean for them to meet together at the starting point? Were you not able to draw that inference? Or were you not able to um, so essentially these are your points. Which step were you not able to do? Done correctly, but confused between 21 and 23. So that's an inference. That's an inference that you were not able to draw. Again, that's not a concept problem. That's again an inference problem related to number properties, not related to word problems, not related to DST. It is related to number properties. That is the problem, which if you were able to do this, sorry, if you were able to do this, but and if you were able to get to this point, but you were not able to draw this inference, then it's the inference problem, but related to number properties. That what does 21 times n? If 21n is equal to 23m, then what does that tell you about n and m? Okay, that is the inference, which is what you're going to learn in number properties as well as in quant basics, okay, courses. Now, Andre and Bimov, you have questions with regards to the DST table here. Here, what's happening is we have assumed N and M to be complete laps, right? And we already have the speeds from here, right? These are the speeds here, right? So what we are saying is if ND is the distance and speed is D by 42, what's the time? Time is distance over speed. That's what we are doing. ND is the distance and D by 42 is the speed. So if you do this processing on your own, you will get it. Okay? All right. So now for those of you who were not able to get to this part over here, 21n is equal to 23m, the way to think about this is, and let's get rid of this stuff here. 21n is equal to 23m. Now, in what scenario will product of 21 and some integer be equal to 23 times some other integer? See, 21 doesn't divide 23, right? There are no common factors between the two, which means if 21 times something has to be equal to 23 times something, then this blank has to be 23. That's what you're getting, because there's no common factor between the two. Okay? Yes, 23 is prime. Yes. Okay, again, all of these inferences you're going to learn in number properties course. Okay, because a number of times people get stuck with such equations and they think, okay, there's only one equation, but I have two variables. How many of you felt that way? There's only one equation, but I have two variables. How do I solve it? That's where you interpret that, and there is a lot more coded over here than what meets the eye. Okay. All right. So with this, we are, yes, Hendra. Candice finishes 23 laps while Sabrina finished 21 laps. Absolutely, Hendra. Okay. All right. So with this, we are down to our last question here. But how are you guys feeling? It's not wrong to say that beam off, because ultimately you're saying the same thing. 42x is equal to 46y. What you're saying is the same thing, that the time is the same. So what are the takeaways from this session so far? Just have one more question left, and then we're going to part ways after that. So just want to capture your takeaways. What have you learned about your quant preparation? You solved five difficult 700 level questions. Need practice. Sudhir, how will you practice? Good. Jack is saying definitely learn that these questions are doable. Absolutely. That confidence is very important. It's just a matter of getting better at breaking each question down. Absolutely. And process skills are the way to do that. Nelson says, I can comfortably solve 700 level questions with right approach. Absolutely. And Carol, don't get disappointed. These are difficult questions. Okay. I need to do more concepts. Let's do the last question. Yes, we're going to do the last question. All right. So let's do that. And let me get the poll. Go ahead, click on still solving. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Okay, how was this question? Easy, got it, just towards the end of solving, or absolutely clueless? Yes, and I could see that from the polls because despite this much time, 70% of you didn't make any selection. So that's when I thought, okay, let me just end the misery here and give you the solution. Because I know once you go through the process skills, you will get it. Okay. All right. Were you able to um, get to an equation to solve, or were you not able to translate this at all? No? Okay. Like in the previous question, a number of you got to the equation, right? So here, the very fact that you didn't get to the equation means that you were not able to translate this. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Something more for us to learn, right? So let's look at this. English language, yes. And again, this is something which we have to build our skill set. And this is where we, in fact, but this is the only question for which I think I applied the sentence structure approach, wherein I was looking at one sentence and then I was this is the last question. Yes, question number 6 is the last question. Okay. So again, a lot of information. If I were to make this into an easy question, the easiest thing that I will do is simplify the language of the question, okay, and give it to you on a platter, okay. But again, this is the kind of complication, this is a layer of complexity that the test maker utilizes in creating difficult questions, because the more processing you have to do, the more difficult the question is. So let's read this part by part. One side of a parking stall is defined by a straight stripe. So, one side is defined by a straight stripe. So, in my head, I make this straight stripe in my notes. Okay. That consists of n painted sections of equal length. Okay. So, I have this n painted sections. So, I assume, so I've made these 4 painted sections, and according to me, these are equal. Okay, right, of equal length. Okay, so these are my painted sections, um, with an unpainted section half as long between each pair of consecutive painted sections. So there is an unpainted section half as long between each pair of painted section, which means now if I were to put this together, this is how my painted parking stall looks like. How many of you, so were you able to get to this visualization after you read this part? How many of you were able to get to this visualization? Yes, no? Okay. So for those of you who were not able to get to this visualization, translation is the key here. Okay. You were not able to translate this information into this, because if you're not able to do this, then anything further is going to be a problem. Okay. So that's what goes in your error log if you were doing this question in the course. Okay. Now let's learn from it. Let's assume that so how about the method of getting to it? If you, so Hendra, for example, you were not able to get to this, so my feedback to you would be break down the sentence the way I have broken it down. Okay, and for those of you for whom English translation is an issue, go through the master comprehension course in our e-GMAT course, because you will learn translation very well over there. Okay, because this is a strategic pausing technique that we teach, and breaking down the sentence into its structure into smaller chunks, right? So that is a very important one. Okay. Now, next, what we do is what's given to us is that the unpainted section is half as big as the painted section. So what I assume is, I assume, because I don't like to work with fractions. So what I assumed was that if the unpainted section width is D, then the painted section width will be 2D. Okay. All right, so now I take that information and then we move to our next sentence. The total length of the stripe from the beginning of the first painted section, which is this part over here, to the end of the last painted section. Okay, to the end of the last painted section. So here also there is a paint. So again, let me assume that this is to the end of the last painted section. So assume this part is not there. So this is 203. This is what is 203. Okay. So now what do you see here? In this section, how many are painted sections? 4. But how many are unpainted sections? 3. Okay. So that is another important thing for you to note. Okay. Now let's move on to the last one. If n is an integer and the length in inches of each unpainted section, okay, sorry. If n is an integer, n was the number of painted sections, sorry, and the length in inches of each unpainted section is an integer greater than 2, then what is the value of n? So we need to find the value of n, okay? So what you see over here is 203 was the total one, and as I said, n is the number of painted sections, of which 2d is the length. And we also inferred that n minus 1 is the number of unpainted sections, right? Of which d is the length. So this is our equation. Okay. Now, if this is the equation, we then solve this equation further. What we get is 203 is equal to d into 3n minus 1. Okay. And then what we do is we simply now apply our number properties. Okay. So this is the equation. How many of you got to this equation? 203 is equal to d into 3n minus 1. Okay, so not very many of you. Okay, so, but any questions right now on this? Okay, now the next thing over here is again something that you will learn in number properties course. The way we did 21n is equal to 23m, that's the same principle here. 203 is equal to product of d into 3n minus 1, product of two numbers. Now 203, how can, the only way you can write that down is 7 times 29, right? So what you do is you take, there are two cases possible for either d is 7 or d is 29. Now if d is 29, then you figure out 3n minus 1 is equal to 7, which is not a possibility. Why? Because n is an integer. Okay, if d is 7, then 3n minus 1 is 29, and that gives you n is equal to 10. Okay, so again, let me generate the PDF for this because I know that you would want this PDF, but this is it. This is the solution of the question. And again, different steps here, translation into this diagram. Okay, then again, translating this diagram into this equation, and then again, doing the inference over here. I missed the inference part here. Yeah, visualizing this over here, drawing the inference, and then considering both the cases here. Okay, and then getting to the value. Now, this question very well could have been posed as a data sufficiency question as well. Okay. How d is 7 and 3n minus 1 is 29. Again, this is, Vibho, if you're asking this question, then you definitely need to go through the concept over here that we teach in number properties course. Again, this is over here. D times 3n minus 1 is equal to 203. Now, 203, the only way you can write 203 is in terms of 7 times 29. Okay, that's the only combination possible. Okay, which means that if this product has to exist, then d has to be one of those numbers and 3n minus 1 has to be one of those numbers. Okay. All right. So with this, we've come to the end of discussion of these questions, and I will share the PDF with you. But a couple of you had asked about GFE and how our course maps to GMAT Focus Edition. Again, if whatever entity you consider for your GMAT prep, whether it's your personalized study planner, again, we are the only company that provides a personalized study planner. Nowhere in the world you're going to get that, okay, for GFE, even for the classic GMAT. Comprehensive courses for DI, we offer the most comprehensive course. TDP is the only other course, the only other company that offers this course, but that's text only. And again, it's not as comprehensive as ours. No video solutions whatsoever over there. Number of DI questions. Again, you compare the number of DI questions, and again, it's way more than what the competitor offers. We are the only ones who offer full length mock tests. Nobody else is even planning to create those mock tests. Again, when you think of deep analytics, we offer that deep analytics. And about pricing, when you consider 4-month pricing, again, somebody was asking about it, $249 versus the competitors. So you can see that we offer the maximum value for your money and for your preparation. Okay. So good, Sudeep. Welcome. So I'm really happy. If you have any problems doing the course, through the course, just write to us at support@e-gmat.com. Okay. So good, Bimov. Really, really happy. Again, make sure that you have your personalized study plan created. Very, very important. Okay. Take your data very seriously. For those of you who have not as yet purchased, I would suggest start going through the number properties first module. The entire first module is available to you in the free trial, so go through that. Also, go through this very nice article that we have written on what are the winning behaviors of 700 plus scorers. So, really, really important. Okay, so let me create the PDF. Let me give me just a couple of seconds while I do that because I have to upload the PDF. In the meanwhile, tell me how the session was. What did you like in the session? Because that's very important. Um, and what more would you want to see? Because and what did you learn? I mean, what's yeah. That's good to know. Tell me, what did you like in the session? Because again, we'll be with the GFE coming about. We'll be creating a lot of content for GMAT Focus Edition, both for our students as well as conducting them for everybody. So tell me what you liked in the session, and yeah, learning breaking down of the problem is the key. Some arithmetic skills, good. Okay, my PDF has been processed. Let me just upload that PDF. Um, Files. Okay, let me take this back to the lobby here so that because I know some of you wanted to see these links again. So now if you want to create your personalized study plan, then definitely attend the webinar next Friday. Register for that. BMOV, if you're having problems with translation, again, go through word problems course. Okay. Word problems, as I said, we are there's a full module on translation. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I just want to make sure I upload the right document here. 1 second. Didn't save it here. Why not? PDF. Hmm. Okay. All right. There you go. Okay. Almost there. ND, not just for DI, you need to get the entire package because that's the beauty of the entire course. You need to have everything in there. Okay, so not just for DI, ND. Yes, here's the PDF. Okay. All right, so that's about it. It was really wonderful conducting this webinar for you. Again, good luck for your preparation. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can write to me at payal at e-gmat.com or at support at e-gmat.com. Again, all students, you have any problems with your preparation, just write to us and we are going to help you get through that. Okay. All right. Bye bye. So you're not able to download Webho? How about others? Are others able to download this? Okay, so click on this download button. So Vibho, if you write to me, I can send it to you by tomorrow, okay? Or just write to me right now. So just give me your email address. So send me an, okay, good. All right, let me just copy it and I'll send it to you in the next few minutes, okay? All right, I'm going to end the meeting now. I'm very, very